Right, hey, Scott from Thieves Guild Games, and this will be the longer video on the con experience from Mythic. Um, I did I did two shorts. Rich did a video. It was a really good video for Rich. I'm going to link that. I think everyone should watch it. He's probably going to be a lot more succinct and more well spoken than I'm going to be. So yes, please take a look at that, especially if you're interested in going to a con or what to expect. Rich covers everything from how we got there to how we left, and a lot of that is really good information. I'm going to talk about this from the like playing in cons and having gone to cons for years, over a decade now, um, and there was a question in my first short when I was just irritated at the GMs that I had experienced on Friday, and it was from WY Circus Freak. Go back to that video, that short, and take a look at his comment. And so I'm going to address that because I wanted to give him some encouragement. To you just got to put yourself out there. Just know what you're doing. We'll get to that. So yeah, we got there Thursday night, which was awesome. And then Friday afternoon was the first game. That game didn't have any players, and that was going to be a live demo of Open Six. And like I said in the short, like I get it if you're looking to come to a con, and also Friday is a really rough day because it's like the first day, and there's not a lot of players there anyway. It was mostly empty, even for the bigger games. Like there were 5e games that were completely no players. So. Um, So nothing personal there. I was actually kind of relieved not to have to run anything, to be honest. Just I was like, we'll just save my energy for that night. Then that night, I was going to run Neon Blood, but there were travel issues for a lot of people coming to the con. And I had a player sat down with me, really good dude, Ari, who happened to play with Rich. If you watch that video, um, he was super interested. He likes games that are get up and go games, and he really likes the Year Zero engine, so he was super excited. And sometimes, we can sit and talk about Neon Blood, but it's kind of difficult to run something for one person at a con, especially for 4 hours. That is a long haul game, and you don't have to have your games go exactly 4 hours. If they wrap up early, most people aren't gonna be too irritated. Just gotta make sure comfort level with the table, and then don't tell me I'm gonna wrap this up in 2 hours, even though I planned for four. You just gotta kind of go the natural flow of how the adventures are going, and if you feel a natural stopping point, just do it. So Ari and I talked, and there were some open games, and uh, so it was like, do we want to do Shadow Dark or do we want to do Old Gods? And he and I share similar personalities, so we were both like, yeah, let's do Old Gods. And we went to the table, and it was like, okay, cool. Everyone at the table looked like gamers. There was one couple that actually looked like they were, tourists, not that kind of tourists, but like normal people who somehow found themselves at an RPG convention, and they were actually really good players. Uh, and then we sat down, and they started going over the characters for Old God of Appalachia. The GM was explaining how this is the green, and then there's the other, and all the things that you expect. Ask people their experiences with it, and like Ari and I are both listen to the podcast. And I live in Tennessee. My family's from that area of the folk horror parts of Tennessee before they came across the states. So super looking forward to it. And then he told us, hey, you guys were going to be part of what we call the brigade here in these woods. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And, we're going to be working with General Beauregard. I was like, okay, people, the General Beauregards it's a real person. So maybe this is going to be cool. Maybe we're going to have some real neat twist to it. And then he said, General Beauregard is a blue tick healer. So, yeah. And there was Miss Sadie Cluckins, which is a chicken with granny magic, and there was some stupid fucking woodpecker, and there was a chipmunk or a squirrel. I don't know. She actually played her character well. It was the old dog and then a young dog. And then something else that I really don't care. Ari, to his credit, at being a nice person, he just was reading over things and he asked the GM a question. The GM is just, he's a random freak anyway. He runs puppet games and all that stuff. And if you like puppet RPGs, I don't give a shit. They're weird and dumb. Sorry. It's not for me, and judging by the table, and not for a lot of people. Um, So Ari just asked him if this is a by the book or if this is a him thing. And he said it's a me thing. And Ari was like, this isn't my vibe. And he got up and left. Now, I'm the petty person who, if you are going to act like a lunatic weirdo, I am going to stay at the table and I'm going to make sure that the game doesn't go exactly how happy, plucky, cozy you want. Make me a bad person. Don't care. Judge me. So we played that damn game. We played it for about 2.5 hours, maybe three. I'm not 100% sure on how long. It wasn't the full 4 hours though. And yeah, we upended the entire storyline he had because one, he's not clever. Two, he telegraphs everything, and three, it was such a dumb fucking concept that it was almost personally insulting. Everyone was laughing at the table. The players had a great time. He was not having a good time. He'll never learn a lesson. He will always think he had a success in game because we were enjoying what we were doing. Don't care. The other game on Friday, I forgot that since the Open Six I didn't have to run it. I went to a Savage Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. If you want to be pedantic, and the GM there, she didn't have her other player. He didn't show up. And so I asked her, hey, there's some open games. Are you interested in, we can just tag team another game if you want. And I told her Outgunned was open. And she had said she had played Outgunned once before and she really enjoyed it. And I was like, awesome. Start packing your stuff up and I'll run over. I ran across the hotel and asked them if we could join them, and it was only the GM and one dude because they were also in the same situation. No, just not a lot of people at 1,500 on Friday for an opening day of a con. It's just kind of how it is. Not a con this size, and they were more than excited. And I went back and got her. We went over to play. We sat down, and it was the adventure version of it. So I'm just like, oh, this is dope. Indiana Jones, the Mummy, whatever you could think of for that pulp era adventure. And then the dude introduced the characters. It was pretty cool. And I've always wanted to try out Gun because I was like, oh, everyone's like, oh my God, let's glaze this game. It's so fast. The rules light, so simple. The game has 3 meta currencies. So if you're an anti-meta currency person, if you think cards or bennies in Savage Worlds is a problem, stay the fuck away from Outgunned. You are not going to enjoy it. The dice mechanic is not simple. It's essentially Yahtzee. So you're doing, pairs, triples. It doesn't really matter what the dice have on them as long as they have matching. You can match the symbols. So that is really cool, actually. That was probably the best thing of it. But then it becomes, well, you need a basic success or a critical success. Well, yeah, I rolled a critical success. My dice pool is so big. I rolled a critical success with these symbols, and I rolled a basic success here. And then all the successes become these successes. And there's actually, it was like, Jesus Christ, you have overcomplicated a simple mechanic. So I might be able to get past that. I might need to try to run Outgunned on my own. Because the dude running Outgunned also was the biggest part of the problem. Like, really nice guy, but he read verbatim from the stupid little adventure journal that he got from the Kickstarter. And he was not really prepared for the players, and there was no real narration. And the whole point of Outgunned is that it's supposed to be, high octane speed. We'll get to that though, because I saw a video yesterday when I was working on a game, because that's how mad I am about Outgunned and a few things. Like, I will just do this my fucking self as always. And there's something similar, but like his started where we were climbing a glacier and looking for Eric the Red's treasure. So you already know which adventure it is because it's the one that comes with the game. And we're climbing this glacier, and he was like, oh, this is all about narration, how you do things. And I was like, okay, well, this sounds like a brawny plus stunt. Or if you can think of something different, and you don't really, there was no room to role play, even when the other guy playing our pilot, and his character, she fell because she didn't make it. And, my thing was like, reach down and, grab her. I was like, you know, Angelica, you got to stop eating all that red meat. Try a salad, girl. And that was some of the thing. And he and I were having a good time. The lady GM, she was with us, and she was playing our thief essentially. And she was having a good time, but it was these interspersed moments. There was not really any of that. That was like that line was the extent of most of the narrative role playing. Um, that was going on, and it was just like that for hours going into it, and it was just no forethought, no creativity, no energy is really the thing. It's just zero energy. And so I'll stop pissing and moaning at that point about the con, because those are the only games I played in. So for like Circus Freak and other people, if you want to go to a con and run a game, I can only tell you that you have to know the rules. The con actually says when you're filling the form out for running your system, they tell you specifically, this is not the place where you also learn to play the game. You're running a game, and you need to know the rules, because there are people who are going to come to this con and they want to play the game. And a lot of folks will use cons to play things that they've never played before. And so you learning the rules of the table is not the time for this. Now, you don't have to have system mastery, but you need to have a fundamental 75-90% solution of how these rules work at a con. I know people will be like, oh, that's just not true. It is true, because you're just pissing everyone off the table and you're dragging shit out, making things boring. So you have energy. I don't know. Like, I put a video out a while back. It's like, no one can make you a better GM, and it's just true. You are how you are. And you're, for the most part, you're not going to change how you are at the table. I've said it for decades. There are just some people who shouldn't be GMs, and I know that it's kind of painful. It just is what it is, and if you're honest about it, you have played with people should not be GMs. Hell, some of these people shouldn't even be in the damn hobby. They're just not good players. They're not good GMs. They have a fundamental roadblock when it comes to gaming. And yes, I know everyone's like, there's no right way to play a game. Well, there's a lot of wrong ways to play games. So I'll see your no right way, and I'll raise you by about 30 wrong ways to play a game, especially a role-playing game. But you got to just put yourself out there. Rich said that in his video too, and I agree with him. It's just know your material, have a simple, straightforward adventure. Just use something that is already existing, or something you've ran through, more than once. Or if there's a D&D module that you like, just use ChatGPT, use Grok, use whatever the hell AI you want, and that's to help you modernize it if you are kind of roadblocky on that. It really is easy. And pre-generate characters. Do not use character sheets. I advise against character sheets. A lot of people use character sheets. This time around, I did not use character sheets in the games I ran. I used plain white paper and just had the waterfall of, name, trope or stereotype, attributes, skills, gear, things like that, and listed everything out for everyone. So it's just a sheet of paper where you can look. And when I asked about it, people really, all the players actually said they kind of preferred that I had done that instead of them having to hunt all over the stupid sheet trying to find something. And you'll see that if you go to enough cons, you're like, well, roll your defense dice. Well, where's my defense? It's like, no, it's on the bottom. Oh, over here. No, on the other bottom. So just think about that when you're doing a character. When you're making a character, always make pre-gens. Never make characters at the table. Not ever, unless the game is weirdly specific that you need to. And we'll talk about how I kind of do that for one of my games. But yeah, and so you got your pre-generating characters, you got an idea of an adventure, and some of it is just, you got to feel the flow of the table. Get to know your players, ask them kind of what their styles are. That is how I give out characters. I don't let players choose the characters, because they are going to get vapor locked, and if they don't understand the system, they don't understand what they're looking at anyway. So I'll ask them, hey, what do you normally like to play? What kind of genre do you enjoy? And go on the table like that, and you'll start seeing some banter back and forth. And then I know the characters that I brought, and I will say, okay, cool. Based on kind of the feel I have for you, here's what I think you might be happy with. And everyone is like, yeah, okay, this is awesome. Yeah, I can deal with this. Like, this is awesome. This is fun. I'm gonna tell them, hey, if you don't, there's a couple more, and I can walk you through, walk you through them. But never had no one swapped out their characters. They did really well. So there's that, and then just be energetic when you. I do not sit at the table when I run a game. I stand the entire time, unless I really need a break now because it's just getting older and my body's giving out. But I stand the entire time. I do the voices. I do everything at the con that I would do in my own personal games. If you've watched me run games on YouTube, you understand what my style is like. That doesn't change at a con. It just get louder because it is definitely loud in there. So you gotta be energetic. You gotta have that momentum. You have to carry the table as a GM because you can't really let the players run riot. But when you feel that lull coming, pick things up. You know, and the old adage of some of these adventure games, when you feel a lull coming, shit explodes. Um, have a good time with that, and really enjoy your time at the con. Ask questions of people. They're going to glaze you a little bit. It just is what it is. You know, nobody wants to tell someone and be a complete dick. Not even me. To someone. Even this stupid old gods game, I didn't tell a dude, hey, you're a dumb piece of shit and you shouldn't run games anymore. I was just like, thanks for taking your time out. And that was it. You know, that was the extent of it. It was also close to midnight. I was getting angry and tired. So there was that. That was kind of that side of the experience and how to deal with this as a GM. And if you want to know more, let me know. And if you want to go to a con and you're really interested in this, I have no issue sitting and chatting with you. We can, I'll FaceTime with you and walk you through some of your ideas and what you got, and you look over some stuff for you. I'm not the be all end all of GMs, but I'm a pretty good GM and I can work a table. And I've done this enough where I know what people kind of want to see. I know what I don't want to see, and that's terrible GMs. So for the games I ran, we did 2 test runs. One was really, really well done. The players enjoyed it. They wanted to know more. And then the best compliments you can always have is that the player, she played one of our like a heavy hitter, but her character, she said it was so engrossing that she wanted to know more about the world and she wanted to continue to see like how this character's hindrances were set up in such a way that she was like, there are so many little threads to pull on these, and I want to know more about how the world works, how the universe is working, and how all the magic works and all that jazz. And so that was good. That was a really good table, really good rapport. It was a husband, wife, and then another lady and a dude. All good players. They all really got into it. They had a good time. We ran through the scenario that I basically. So here's my little tell. I make things up on the fly. I very rarely will pre-plan anything, an adventure, and just I don't know. I'll have some ideas, but like theirs was, I was like, and then I decided, okay, you're going to go to this gala event. There's a thing happening. You're going to have to stop it without letting people know you're trying to stop it, or or not, whatever. Once no plan survives contact. And what it was essentially, it was I ran it through Die Hard, just with some twists. And when we got to the end, that was actually a comment. I think it was from the dudes like, "Do we just play Die Hard? You just play Die Hard." So yeah, that was just I thought about as they were talking about their characters and how they were plotting and planning to get in this gala event. I was like, okay, cool, that would work. And again, they glaze. But it's it just is what it is. Everyone's gonna be nice. There was some good feedback. The one lady, the wife, she gave some feedback to one of the players, and it was just essentially like, well, you could have played your character better. And I was like, ooh. So her words were sweet, but dripping with venom, and I was just like, inside I'm like, she's not wrong. I gave you the gadgeteer kind of character, and you did nothing with that character. You could have really helped the game out after saying, "Oh, this is the kind of characters I usually play." Like, shit, I hate to see that then in your other games. Then I ran our second Savage setting framework that I had been working on and toying with in my head. 3 players. One was 18 years old, and the rest of the guys were the 2 guys were Gen Xers. The 18-year-old had a blast. It was a very specific kind of setting, and it was just something he wasn't familiar with, and he had a really good time with it. He really got into the character. I will give him that. By the end of it, I was just like, I think we may have ruined this young dude. But it was really good. Everyone, they did enjoy it. The big weaknesses were the same things that I already knew kind of walking into. Like, this is a very limited perspective. This is fundamentally you just it's such a specific thing of a period piece, and if you're not into this kind of thing, yes, it was fun. We all laughed. We had its silliness. I knew it was not going to work within the first hour. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to go through the motions of this, and then we're going to have a good time and be as silly over the top as both the setting and the Savage Worlds want you to be. So we did that, and then Rich and I sat and talked. And like the first thing out of my mouth after the game was over was like, "This is it. We're shelving it. There's no need to do this." There's another game, like I said, in the short that I did that does it far better than I ever will. And I love that game with all of my heart. If you know me, you probably know what game I'm talking about. I'm being a little, I guess, a little obscure with everything. But if you really want to know, just let me know. Um, I don't think it's really relevant. And then the third game I ran was Task Force Raven. I was getting hyped for that because that was going to be a good one. The con canceled my game on accident, and then they had to reinitiate the game and then notify all the players, and then they left it open for because 6 players. I only do 4 players at a table. That's the other thing. You got to know your time limit and your player count. I don't like anything more than 4 players. I just don't. It becomes I'm not into these big group things anymore. And in fact, now that I know that I don't need to do 4 hours. It's really the math adds up to what your badge. I'm like, I'll do 3-hour games. That's pretty also my sweet spot for a con is 3 hours and 4 players. Anyway, um, the group came up. The initial dude sat down. He was a kind of a single dude. He had never played Savage World before. So I was like, okay, awesome. And I told him, say, if no one shows up because it was getting close to the hour, I'll walk you through Savage Worlds, and we'll just slow roll it and let you see how the system works. And then this family shows up. It was a dude, his son, who was a high school senior. I think it was his niece and nephew. I'm not really sure the relationship of those other two. Um, but phenomenal table, outstanding players. The new dude, he could not have gotten a better jump into Savage Worlds than sitting at a table where the 16-year-old is essentially a savant with the rule book. And all of them have played Savage Worlds, and at some point they have all gotten a chance to play with. They played Deadlands with Shane, and they played with Clint. And so you're talking about people who played Savage Worlds for such a long time, and this breadth of knowledge was so refreshing. And the young lady, she would get up and go sit down next to the new guy and walk him through, like, oh, there's a dice roll being made, and here's what the dice roll means and how they're calculating this out. And like, dude had a blast. He bought Savage Worlds. I think he ordered it. He said that he's at the table. So that's always awesome to see when you get more converts. And that's, like I said, when also I found out that the actual adult dude, the older dude was. Well, I won't say what he did because I don't want anyone to try to look him up. But he works in Hollywood, and he was part of the show Six, which is about SEAL Team Six. And then he's done a couple of other movies and stuff that I really enjoy. So then I said him, he said he's going somewhere else, and I told him where to go eat in this other state. But yeah, he loved it. He loved the whole thing. I mean, he really got into it. And then he ended up ordering, he bought Raven on the spot and a bunch of other stuff. For Raven, he enjoyed it that much, so that's really good. And then, like I said, they all really enjoyed it, and so Raven is one of the games. It's the only game that I do that where I leave the character sheets kind of blank because I want them to pick one one specialty skill, like an edge, if you will, for Savage Worlds, and then they'll do that and they pick their battle loadout after the briefing, and then you get to go through and you make those choices, and so you get to learn about, okay, well, why this gun and not this gun, why this thing and not that thing. And they help the new guy with all of that, but that's where I leave that. And then also for Task Force Raven, if you've never played it, if you've never played it, if you're unaware, the last thing I do, and it's in the book like this, is you need like a nickname or operator handle. And so you sit there and you will talk about your character, describe your character using like your hindrances, your edges, what you like, what your character is good at, where you came from, because your civilian life that you left matters because it gives you some mechanical bonuses, yes, but it also, I was an accountant and now I'm a door kicker. And so they'll go through and you describe your character, and your team essentially kind of talks about you and gives you your nickname. you don't get your choice in your nickname. That's also how it works in the real world for the military. You know, or pretty much anything, any clique, you're not going to choose your own name. And I tell them like, hey, you can be brutal. Just don't be insulting. But if anyone has an issue with anything, just let me know. But yeah, they all got nicknames. The names are pretty good. The guy playing our weapons and tactics, I mean, his nickname could have been far more brutal, but his dad wasn't really aware of what the slang had really meant. But he got his nickname, then we went around, and then the girl got her name. She was really excited because she was like doing the pen tap, and she was driving her character. She was a British SAS, and they had the ugly hindrance and this big massive scar, and they were having a hard time with it. And that was the one where I was like, hey, you guys, she's cocky, she won't back down, she does MMA, she's got this massive scar, she likes, she's she's that kind of person where you're like, okay, you're over the top, you need to be reined in ever so slightly. And, they'll ask me sometimes, they'll start laughing almost immediately. And I told them, I was like, I'd call her Barbie. And that was her nickname for the rest of the game, was Barbie. And she loved it. She was just like, oh my God, I hate that. But yes. And so that's kind of how it was. That's how I run Raven, and allow some bit of open-endedness to character selection. And yeah, that is it. And then we packed up and skidooed, and this thing is almost 30 minutes long, and hopefully you've stayed to the end. If you have, come check us out on Discord. There's some really good conversations going on right now about RPG design. And it's not like nerd arguments. It's like the introspective natures of, okay, well, how do we do this with experience points? And I think a lot of it was spurned on by me bitching about crappy GMs and how they ruined my day. It just is what it is. I'll never get over that. I've always been petty bitch like this. But yeah, so our channel description has the Discord link. You obviously have us on YouTube. If you want to test some of our games, come over to Discord and let us know. We're getting ready to start our program where we're going to start headhunting folks to actually test material for us, and it will be a paid gig for the GM. You can share the money with your players. I don't really care. You just can't do solo GMing. We need full group feedback. But yeah, like, subscribe, give us some comments. If you were greatly offended by anything in the video, awesome. I look forward to your YouTube channel and your products taking off. Seriously, just make some comments. I like reading the comments. The comments usually get pretty good engagement. Until next time, stay savage.